Today, we delve into the incredible life of Eugene Stoner, an American machinist and innovator that accumulated over 100 patents during his career, the designer of the AR-10 and AR-15 rifles, the chief engineer of ArmaLite, a veteran, an armorer in the Marine Corps, serving in northern China and the South Pacific, and father of four, whose contributions to firearms design defined military history and are still used today as integral parts of modern firearm design. Join us as we explore the development of the AR series of rifles, their unique features, and its competition against the M14 for adoption by the U.S. To truly understand the emergence of the AR-15 and its evolution into the M16 rifle, we must first begin at World War II. The Second World War era was dominated by battle rifles that were chambered in full power calibers and largely operated by bolt actions. As Nazis progressed and the conflict developed, it became increasingly apparent that there was a pressing need for a solution that could offer both high capacity and the use of an intermediate cartridge. This is what could win the war. It was a vital rudimentary. In order to achieve an effective infantry, riflemen could not be expected to conduct operations with bolt-action rifles. Bolt-action was impractical and difficult to operate, especially under stress, covered in mud, blood, and sweat. It became a serious challenge. The direction was clear. This hypothetical design for an improved rifle would enable soldiers to maintain effective engagement ranges while also significantly boosting their power on the battlefield. The Nazi troops were pioneers in this regard, introducing the STG-44, chambered in the 7.92 by 33mm Kurz. Issued with 30-round magazines, the STG-44 equipped individual soldiers with unprecedented firepower, fundamentally changing the dynamics of infantry combat. Imagine being prepared in a mindset ready for combat, hearing that the enemy soldiers had fully automatic weapons and 30-round magazines while you were holding a bolt-action rifle. For infantrymen, it was the worst news imaginable, a bitter pill to swallow. Despite this, morale remained high, although officers and infantry alike knew the ever-pressing urgency to improve, innovate, and overcome. Something had to be done. There had to be a change. Moving forward through the 1940s and the 50s, as the dust settled from both World War II and the Korean War, the United States and NATO were lagging behind the Soviets in small arms technology. The Soviet Union had fully embraced the concept of an intermediate cartridge with the introduction of the Kalashnikov AK-47, chambered in 7.62 by 39mm. Meanwhile, the West, led predominantly by the United States, was still focused on developing battle rifles chambered for the 7.62 by 51mm NATO standard cartridge. This fixation led to the sidelining of numerous intermediate cartridge designs by NATO members in favor of rifles that could accommodate the new standard cartridge. As a result, across the pond, many NATO nations adopted the FNFAL, and for West Germany, the H&K G3. While back in the States, the competition for the standard service rifle saw the M14, FNFAL, and ArmaLite AR-10 as key contenders. Stoner's early years in Indiana. Born November 22, 1922, the only child of Lloyd and Britannia Morrison Stoner, a young Eugene Stoner started life in a small Midwestern farming community, population 800, Gosport, Indiana. Though Stoner didn't pursue a formal education in engineering, his mechanical aptitude was evident from a young age. After serving in the United States Marine Corps during World War II, Stoner moved into the world of firearms design, eventually joining ArmaLite, a division of the Fairchild Aircraft Corporation, where he would later become the chief engineer. At ArmaLite, Stoner's talent for innovative design quickly became apparent. He was able to think in a way that was always logical, yet both highly pragmatic and effective. Stoner, being self-taught as an engineer, was closely focused on the how, but what he lacked was the why that comes from a firm grasp of the subject's core matter in higher formal education. The caveats and nuances of the sciences involved were not always apparent to Stoner in the way an academic may have had, but regardless of this, he more than made up for it in his ability for creativity and practical problem-solving skills. Stoner's diligent work at ArmaLite went on to revolutionize the way military rifles were conceived. Due to his passion, focused intention, and dogged determination, he found the solutions to the problems that faced the design and overcame them. Genesis of the AR-10, a new era.
President Truman announced the official surrender.
It was later on in the early 1950s that Stoner set out to create a new battle rifle that would be lighter, more reliable, and also more capable of delivering an effective acquisition of targets at significantly greater ranges. This innovation of an increased range enabled a rifleman to control a wider operational front, providing infantry cover with the 20 rounds of 7.62 cartridges being the capable caliber providing ground support in an instance. The result of this research was realized in the AR-10. It was 1956 when the AR-10 became one of the first infantry rifles to use aircraft-grade aluminum and fiberglass in its construction, significantly reducing its weight. Alongside this lightweight design, the AR-10 also added another innovative design. It introduced the direct impingement gas system, a feature that would become a hallmark of Stoner's designs. This system allowed for a simpler, lighter, and more reliable operation, as it eliminated the need for a traditional gas piston. The AR-10's 7.62 by 51mm NATO caliber provided the power expected of a battle rifle, while its innovative design reduced recoil and improved handling. Its 20-round magazine capacity was a significant advantage over the 8-round M-block clips of the M1 Garand, U.S. military's standard issue rifle at the time. Furthermore, the AR-10's accuracy and range were impressive, with Stoner's design facilitating tight groupings at distance up to 500 yards. Competition with the M14. Despite its advanced features, the AR-10 faced stiff competition. The U.S. military was in the process of selecting a new standard issue rifle, and the AR-10 was up against the T-44, which would eventually become the M14. The M14 was a more traditional design, an evolution of the M1 Garand with a magazine-fed system in the same 7.62 by 51mm NATO caliber. The competition was intensely close. In trials, the AR-10 demonstrated superior performance in many areas, including weight, handling, and innovation. However, the M14's familiarity and its designer's established relationship with the military procurement apparatus gave it an edge. Additionally, a catastrophic failure during a demonstration caused by a prototype barrel not built to Stoner specifications marred the AR-10's reputation. The end result: due to strong advocacy from Springfield Armory and influence also perhaps from some internal politics / hidden hands and string pulling, the M14 was selected in 1957 as the new standard service rifle for United States Armed Forces, intended to replace the M1 Garand, M2 carbine, M3 grease gun, and the Browning automatic rifle, or the BAR. However, this decision was controversial, with many believing that the AR-10's advanced design offered more future potential. Challenges in the jungle. The dense jungles and close-quarters combat conditions of Vietnam exposed several limitations of the M14. The rifle's full-power cartridge led to considerable recoil, making controlled automatic fire difficult and often impractical in the tight and unpredictable combat environments of the Vietnamese jungle. Many soldiers found the rifle to be too long and cumbersome for the close combat that characterized much of the warfare in Vietnam, limiting maneuverability and reaction times in critical situations. Additionally, the M14's standard 20-round magazine capacity and uncontrollable full auto fire, as well as manufacturing defects, quickly proved to be a disadvantage in the high-intensity firefights common in Vietnam. Enemy forces, often armed with the AK-47 with its 30-round magazine and controllable automatic fire, could lay down a more sustained and effective volume of fire. This disparity highlighted a crucial need for a weapon that could offer both the firepower and control necessary for the unique demands of the conflict. The challenges faced by the M14, especially in comparison to the AK-47 during the Vietnam conflict, highlight its extreme shortcomings. The AK-47's smaller cartridge, higher magazine capacity, ergonomics, and improved control and automatic fire put the M14 at a severe disadvantage. Soldiers' feedback and the quest for alternatives. Feedback from the field began to filter back to military leadership and defense policymakers, painted a picture of a rifle ill-suited to the guerrilla warfare tactics employed by Viet Cong forces. Reports of soldiers modifying their M14s or expressing preference for captured enemy weapons underscored the urgency of finding a more suitable primary infantry weapon. The limitations of the M14, especially in terms of controllability and adaptability to the dense jungle environment, catalyzed the United States military search for a new rifle. This critical period of reassessment and feedback set the stage for the accelerated development and deployment of the M16. The new rifle promised a solution to many of the issues identified with the M14, offering lighter, more controllable weapon with a shorter overall length and lightweight, better suited to the demands of the Vietnam War. Eugene Stoner's team, including the notably influential Jim Sullivan, played a crucial role in the evolution of the AR-10 into the AR-15. Sullivan, a talented engineer, worked closely with Stoner to refine the AR-10's design to accommodate an intermediate cartridge, leading to the creation of the AR-15 in 223 Remington, which was later standardized as 5.56 NATO. Sullivan's contributions were instrumental in addressing the design challenges associated with scaling down the AR-10 to create a more lightweight and manageable rifle. His engineering insights helped optimize the internal mechanics and ergonomics of the AR-15, ensuring reliable function and improved usability under combat conditions. This collaboration not only resulted in a weapon that was revolutionary for its time, but also set the standard for modern infantry rifles, underscoring Sullivan's significant yet often underappreciated impact on firearm design and development. Initially, the Army showed little interest in Stoner's rifle, and ArmaLite, in need of financial recovery, sold the design to Colt Manufacturing Company in 1959 for $75,000 plus royalties. In 1961, the Air Force, under the influence of General Curtis LeMay, became the unexpected champion of the AR-15. Intrigued by the rifle's performance and potential after a demonstration, LeMay ordered 8,500 AR-15s for field trials in 1962. This marked the first significant military interest in the rifle and set a precedent for its consideration by other service branches. LeMay's enthusiasm for the AR-15 was pivotal. He recognized its advantages in terms of weight, firepower, and usability, qualities he deemed essential for a modern service rifle. It was Colt that successfully marketed the AR-15, eventually convincing the Department of Defense and Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara to adopt the M16 for field use in Vietnam. However, McNamara's initial stance on the M16 was far from favorable. Early on, McNamara expressed reservations about the M16, partially due to concerns over Colt's production capabilities. These reservations were not minor. They represented significant hurdles that Colt and the AR-15's proponents had to overcome. Despite these challenges, the strategic context of the Vietnam War, characterized by jungle warfare where traditional battle rifles were less effective, necessitated a reevaluation of the infantry's primary weapon. McNamara, ever the pragmatist and influenced by combat effectiveness studies and pressures from within the military and Congress, eventually sanctioned the adoption of the M16. However, the transition to the M16 was far from smooth, as it encountered significant challenges and criticisms once it was deployed to soldiers and Marines engaged in the front lines of combat. This narrative sets the stage for a deeper exploration into the development, controversies, and eventual acceptance of the M16 rifle, a firearm that would come to define an era of American military history. The M16, with its lightweight design, high-velocity 5.56 cartridge, and capability for rapid control fire, was seen as the ideal answer to the limitations of the M14 in the dense jungles of Vietnam. Envisioned to give U.S. forces a significant advantage, the initial deployment of the M16 was met with optimism. However, this optimism was quickly tempered by a series of unforeseen issues that severely impacted the rifle's effectiveness and the morale of the troops relying on it. The culmination of these issues had a profound impact on the morale and operational effectiveness of U.S. forces in Vietnam. Reports of soldiers being found with jammed rifles next to their bodies in the aftermath of firefights painted a grim picture of the M16's reliability issues. The lack of confidence in the M16 became a significant concern for military leadership, prompting urgent efforts to rectify the rifle's deficiencies. Faced with the mounting evidence of the M16's failings and the potential implications for U.S. military effectiveness in Vietnam, Congress launched investigations into the rifle's procurement, testing, and fielding processes. These investigations sought to uncover how such a critically flawed weapon could have been issued to troops in the first place, and why the known issues were not addressed before deployment. The congressional hearings brought to light a complex array of factors that contributed to the M16's troubled introduction into Vietnam. Testimonies from military officials, engineers, and frontline soldiers painted a picture of mismanagement, overconfidence in the untested technology, and a failure to adequately prepare for the environmental challenges of Vietnam. One of the most critical oversights in the M16's early deployment was the lack of issued cleaning kits and adequate maintenance training for the soldiers. The rifle had been marketed and issued under the premise that it was self-cleaning, a misconception that proved to be disastrously inaccurate. The unique environment of Vietnam, with its high humidity, mud, and dust, necessitated meticulous cleaning and maintenance to keep the M16 operational. Without proper cleaning kits and the knowledge to maintain their rifles in such challenging conditions, soldiers found their weapons prone to failure, especially in the midst of combat. These malfunctions not only endangered the lives of the servicemen, but also eroded trust in the M16, a weapon that was supposed to be superior to the enemy's arsenal. Furthermore, the absence of a chrome-lined barrel and chamber in these early models exacerbated wear and corrosion, compounding the rifle's reliability issues. Additionally, the hearing scrutinized the decision to alter the rifle's ammunition specifications without sufficient testing. The switch to a different powder that contributed to increased fouling and exacerbated jamming issues was particularly criticized. This decision, made in the interest of logistics and cost saving, had dire consequences for the reliability of the M16 and, by extension, the safety of American soldiers. The congressional investigations into the M16 were a catalyst for change. The public and political pressure resulting from the hearings led to immediate and significant reforms in how the rifle was supported and maintained. The Department of Defense took urgent steps to rectify the deficiencies highlighted by the investigations, including the distribution of proper cleaning kits to all soldiers equipped with the M16 and the revision of maintenance protocols to ensure the rifles were adequately cared for in the field. Additionally, the investigation spurred the development and issuance of the M16A1, which included several key improvements over the original design, such as the addition of a forward assist mechanism, chrome-lined chamber and bore, as well as improvements in metallurgy. These modifications addressed many of the reliability issues that had plagued the M16's early deployment in Vietnam. The reception of the M16A1 among U.S. forces was initially cautious, tempered by the lingering memories of the original M16's failings. However, as soldiers began to experience the improvements firsthand, perceptions started to shift. Reports from the field indicated a marked increase in reliability, with many troops expressing newfound confidence in the weapon. The M16A1 was not only more dependable, but also retained the advantages that made the original design appealing: lightweight, high accuracy, and a high rate of fire. The improved reliability of the M16A1 had a tangible impact on operational effectiveness. Soldiers found that the rifle could now be trusted in the heat of battle, a trust that had been sorely tested by the earlier version. The ability to maintain and operate the weapon effectively, even in the demanding environments of the Vietnamese jungles, meant that U.S. forces could engage the enemy with greater confidence and firepower. The M16A1 began to fulfill its promise as a weapon that could match and surpass the capabilities of adversary firearms, including the AK-47. As the M16A1 became more entrenched in the daily operations of U.S. forces, stories of its performance began to circulate, painting a picture of a weapon that had redeemed itself. Soldiers shared tales of the M16A1's accuracy, allowing for effective engagement at ranges where enemy weapons fell short. Others praised the rifle's ergonomics and lightweight, which facilitated quicker movement and reaction in close quarters combat. This positive feedback from the troops served to further solidify the M16A1's standing among U.S. forces in Vietnam. The reception of the M16A1 in Vietnam following the congressional investigations marks a significant moment in military history. It reflects the capacity for innovation and adaptation in the face of adversity. The improvements made to the M16A1 and the comprehensive efforts to address the training and logistical challenges underscored a commitment to ensuring that U.S. forces were equipped with a reliable and effective weapon system. The M16A1's journey from skepticism to acceptance and praise is a testament to the importance of listening to the feedback of those on the front lines and the willingness to make necessary changes. It stands as a reminder of the crucial link between technology, logistics, and human factors in the context of warfare. As we look back on this chapter of the Vietnam War, the story of the M16 serves as a powerful example of resilience, innovation, and relentless pursuit of excellence in the face of challenges. It's a story that resonates not just with military historians, but with anyone interested in the dynamics of change and adaptation in critical situations. George Patton once referred to the M1 Garand as the greatest battle instrument ever devised. But perhaps that's because Patton never got to hold an M16.